Are you looking to get divorced before the end of the year? Do you even know why you would want to get divorced before the end of the year? The answer is not always so clear. Hi, I'm Charles Hatley with Melone Hatley PC. We work to protect your family, your finances, and your future. So one of the questions that we get all of the time around this part of the year is, can I get a divorce filed and entered before the end of the year? Well, the short answer is yes. The long answer is, it comes with another question. Why do you want that? So a lot of people want to get divorced before the end of the year because they think that there's some sort of tax savings or some sort of tax implication that's going to happen if they can get divorced before the end of the year. Well, sort of. You get to go from filing married filing separately. If you filed separately, you get to go married filing jointly, and now you get to file separately. So this question really comes down to one, is it advantageous for your taxes to file for divorce for the end of the year? There's another element of filing for divorce before the end of the year, and that is custody and visitation. Whenever we file for divorce and there's going to be a custody and visitation argument, we try to have that argument during long breaks from school, summer and winter break, when it's easiest, if there is going to be a change in school, to change the children's school. So that's why we will frequently ask, so why do you want to get divorced before the end of the year? Unfortunately, there's just a lot of junk on the internet that tells you need to get divorced before the end of the year. May or may not be wrong. It may just be a mental thing. So if you're wanting to get divorced before the end of the year, the first thing that you need to do is get your house in order. It's a quote from a lot of different things, but the idea is you got to start collecting the things that are going to be needed in order to go through divorce, which are bank statements, financial documents, insurance documents, children's school records. If you have children, if you don't have children, you don't have to worry about that. Mortgage statements, everything that could ever come up between you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse about dividing everything out, right? If you own a home, you have to divide the equity in the home. If you have joint bank accounts, you need to divide joint bank accounts. If there's retirement, you need to figure out who gets what portion of what retirement. Caveat on the retirement account, you can have the order that divides the retirement account entered after the divorce order, so you can get divorced on December 31st, but the order dividing the retirement account, if it is at contention, can be brought in later. So you want to start getting everything in order. You also want to financially prepare for the divorce. Divorce costs money if you want it done right. I always tell people when I'm doing consultations and when I was working with clients that the most profitable divorces for any attorney are the ones where somebody did it on their own and now we are hired to go back and fix everything because everything has to be done again. So if you want your divorce done right, you have to be willing to pay for that to happen. So saving money and getting prepared to go and pay a down payment with an attorney, pay the hourly fee with the attorney so that they get the papers filed, and they do this in a relatively quick manner. The reality is at this point in time, we have about 2.5 months to get this all done, where a lot of divorces play out over the course of a year. So you're asking almost for a rush. That's why you need to get your stuff in order to help the attorney out so it doesn't cost so much. The second aspect of preparing to get divorced before the end of the year is looking at what's going to happen to your home. So if you have children and you own a home together, the children are probably going to a school district that is tied to that home. It is not uncommon when people are going through a divorce for the home to be sold and the equity to be split equally between the parents or the partners, ex-partners. And so what you want to do there is have an agreement in place that says, look, until the school year gets out, somebody's going to stay at this home. Or, once I got an apartment in the exact same school district for it so it doesn't have to hurt the children. Because what will happen is if you have children and you're going in for a divorce like this and you don't have a solid answer on where the children are going to be going to school, the judge is going to pump the brakes on your divorce and say, hold up, this is not happening. The next thing you need to do is you need to talk to a tax professional. Attorneys and tax professionals are not the same thing. Tax attorneys and tax professionals are not the same thing. Attorneys fix problems after they happen, or you write contracts to try to solve problems. That's it. You shouldn't pay an attorney to do your taxes. That'd be awfully expensive. You want somebody that's going to talk to you about your taxes and the real world implication of the different filing statuses that you may encounter. And so what that is married filing together means you have one tax rate. Married filing separately means you have one tax rate. And single head of household, if you have children, means you have another tax rate. If the children are living with the other parent, you may struggle to find a head of household, so you don't get the tax deduction. There have been many times that individuals have come to me wanting to get their divorce quickly, that we've run through the tax implications of getting the divorce before the end of the year, only to find out that the parties would have money dissolve into thin air on their tax liability. It wasn't better for one party or the other to get divorced before the end of the year. In fact, I've had parties stay together and do a postnuptial agreement just because the tax liability was going to be so great on them individually that they would end up just paying more taxes for nothing. So we did a postnuptial agreement where they weren't married and had everything worked out. So what we are talking about are the true implications of going through divorce and trying to get that done before the end of the year. That's the difference that Melone Hatley PC brings to the table. We are your partner in divorce, and we do talk to you about each and every aspect of what's going on. So if you are thinking about divorce or going through divorce, give Melone Hatley PC a call and see the difference a partner can truly make for you.